Lee Kuan Yew has warned the whole world about the Philippines, but no one took it seriously. Why? Imagine this, one of the most brilliant minds of the 20th century, a leader who took a tiny fishing village and transformed it into one of the most prosperous nations in the world, looked at the Philippines and shook his head. He saw something coming, something dangerous. He spoke about it, warned about it, and yet no one seriously listened. That man was Lee Kuan Yew, the founding father of modern Singapore, and his warning about the Philippines, it was ignored. But what exactly did he say, and why? Decades later, do his words feel more relevant than ever? Sit tight, because we're about to dive deep into Lee Kuan Yew's final warning about the Philippines, his brutally honest words, the historical context, and how his predictions might be unfolding before our very eyes. To understand the weight of his warning, we need to understand the man behind the words. Lee Kuan Yew was not just a leader, he was a visionary, a strategist, and a man who transformed an island with no future into one of the most prosperous nations in the world. When Singapore gained independence in 1965, it was in a dire state. The country had no natural resources, no deep reservoirs of wealth, and no established military. Tensions threatened to tear the young nation apart, and unemployment was rampant. To many, Singapore seemed destined to fail. But under Lee Kuan Yew's leadership, Singapore defied the odds. He built a government that was efficient, disciplined, and incorruptible. He instilled a culture of hard work and meritocracy, ensuring that talent, no connections, determined success. He cracked down on corruption with an iron fist, implemented strict policies to maintain order, and prioritized education as the foundation of national progress. His leadership style was not without criticism. He was ruthless when necessary, using strict laws and heavy-handed measures to maintain stability. But there was no denying the results. Within a few decades, Singapore went from a struggling island nation to a global economic powerhouse, boasting one of the highest GDPs per capita in the world. Now compare that to the Philippines in the 1960s. At the time, the Philippines was seen as a rising star in Asia. Manila, often called the Pearl of the Orient, was a bustling city with modern infrastructure, a strong economy, and a thriving middle class. The country had some of the best universities in the world and was home to a well-educated workforce. Many believed that the Philippines was on track to become one of the most developed nations in Asia, far ahead of countries like Singapore, Taiwan, and South Korea. But something happened along the way. While other nations surged ahead, the Philippines stagnated. Decades of political instability, corruption, and poor governance took their toll. Infrastructure crumbled, industries declined, and economic progress slowed. Instead of investing in long-term growth, leaders engaged in self-serving politics, enriching themselves at the expense of the people. Why did the Philippines fall behind while others like Singapore thrived? This is where Lee Kuan Yew's warning comes in. Lee Kuan Yew was blunt. He did not sugarcoat his words. He once said, "The Philippines is a country with a great people, but with a soft, forgiving culture. It doesn't punish people for their mistakes, especially those in power." Think about that for a second. A soft, forgiving culture. What did he mean by that? Lee Kuan Yew believed that a nation's progress depended on discipline, the rule of law, accountability. He admired the resilience and talent of Filipinos, praising their ability to adapt and excel. He saw that Filipinos who migrated abroad often thrived under more structured systems, proving that the problem was never about their capability. It was about the environment they lived in. But he also saw a flaw in the country's governance and culture. Corruption, inefficiency, and a deep-seated tolerance for wrongdoing. He observed how high-ranking officials misused public funds, yet faced little to no consequences. He noticed that politicians accused of graft and plunder not only escaped punishment, but were often welcomed back into office by the very people they had betrayed. The justice system, according to him, moved at a frustratingly slow pace. Cases dragged on for years, sometimes decades, allowing